I don't know if you saw this clip going around, but this is Tommy Tuberville, which is a great name. It's like a comic book name. And let's just watch this clip of him being absolutely delusional.
But we're getting to a point now where women and girls sports are getting ready to be extinct, because already in states across this country we have high school teams that are made up of totally boys participating against girls. So it's very serious. Hopefully we can get something done today, but President Trump's executive order is only going to last, John, 4 years. After that it'll probably go the other way.
So this is this is a man who was pushing for in the US Senate a bill to ban trans women and girls from sport across the entire of the USA. And this like cartoon comic book villain, Tommy Tuberville, believes apparently that there are teams in the USA, at what level we don't know, who are entirely trans girls. It's just so ridiculous. I mean, I remember I actually did a show about it a while ago, and we had one of the guys who was involved on it a while ago. There was a sports game in the UK played of football or soccer, where it was a whole team, like 11 people who were all trans men, and they travelled from like across the entire country just to find 11 trans guys who all played football at the same time, like against some other team. And it was like a big news media event. And the idea that there's like multiple states in the US which haven't like, I don't know what, of like shit people in around from across the whole state to find all of one age group and one ability level, all trans girls to play sport or something. Like, it's just so mental. Like, who the fuck believes this? And the thing is, I'm sure this guy does believe it. Like, because they will believe anything negative about trans people. It's like this cat litter in the schools thing, where some friends' mums, boyfriends, uncles, cats, dogs, wife's nephew went to a school where apparently the kids were identifying as cats, so they put cat litter so they could do a wee or something. Obviously false. Anyone with an IQ above a single digit knows that that's just completely made up rubbish. But if you hate trans people, then as soon as you hear something even slightly in the direction of confirming your previously held biases, your brain just switches off. It doesn't matter how true it could be. It's true enough to you, so you just believe it. This guy probably heard from someone once, oh, they've got whole teams now that are just trans people. Or someone said it in a hyperbolic way, like, in the future they'll probably have whole teams. And then he has just bought that as a fact, to the point where he is prepared to go in front of the entire country, like whatever you have in the USA, 300 million people or something, and say this as a fact. Delusional. This man should not be in power anywhere. If he's this gullible, this stupid, this like willing to do things with no evidence, then he shouldn't be in power of anywhere at all. So yeah, absolutely mental. But standard anti-trans, gender critical belief that this kind of thing is true. Anyway, he was pushing for this bill, and amazingly, the Democrats did something, and they blocked the bill to ban trans athletes, which is good. Kind of surprising to see the Democrats doing something. But the vote was actually 51 to 45, which is super close. And they needed 60 votes. And basically everyone bar 5 people voted, and all the Democrats voted against, and all the Republicans voted for, as I presume always happens with every single bill about this. But, well, actually, no, that's not true. I think we were worried that lots of the Democrats would just either not bother voting or would vote in favor of banning trans people. I know we've heard a lot of these like pundits, columnists, opinion writers and stuff saying that the reason the Democrats lost is because they didn't hate trans people enough. And it's good to see that when it actually comes to it, the politicians themselves aren't believing that. I've seen a lot of talk of people saying that they rang up their representatives and explained how this bill would hurt them, hurt their child, hurt their friend, hurt the people in their school or the kids they teach, and managed to get through to people. So I think that shows the importance of pressuring them to do stuff. And I think that's, this is quite positive. This is like the first step. Like, it's the first major legal bill pushed forward in Trump's term this time round, and the Democrats have actually all stood up and done something about it. So that is positive. That is a good sign. If they crumbled at this first one, which they could have easily done, because sports is obviously one of the more difficult issues to stand by, even though banning like 3 trans girls from PE in school in Missouri or somewhere actually is completely unjustifiable nonsense. But people are weak on this issue. So they could have easily dropped it, but they didn't. There's some quotes here. Obviously, some of them are going for the this doesn't matter, it's a waste of time angle, which... So, for example, John Hickenlooper, that's a good name too. You have some good names in the US. Tuberville is trying to churn the social wars about something that really doesn't exist. It's an infinitesimally small group of people that are really trying to find their way. So that's true. It's a decent statement. John Fetterman said the children deserve an ally, and empty show votes or cruelty on social media aren't part of a thoughtful, dignified solution. But there's some positive things, but there's definitely some people saying this is a waste of time. I think if you genuinely believe it's a waste of time and you vote accordingly to just be like, no, get rid of this, that's not terrible. Obviously, you're not someone who's campaigning to remove trans people's rights. But trans people are humans, and it shouldn't really be a waste of your time to fight to have us have human rights. But it's fine. If you're someone who doesn't believe that and you say that because you think it's a politically better message than saying trans people should actually be able to do PE at school, I think that's a kind of rubbish position, because you might be like, oh yeah, well, most people don't care about trans people. True. You can say this is a waste of time because this doesn't affect anyone. But it would also be good if you then finished off with, this is a waste of time. These people are trying to distract from Elon Musk stealing money from the government. I'm going to vote against it. And also, banning children from playing sports at school is a bad, immoral thing to do. Like, just add that on. Because as this article points out, according to this poll at least, 79% of Americans opposed trans women and girls from competing in women's sports. That's because there's just been absolutely no messaging from any of the centre-left parties in the English-speaking world at all saying why trans people should be able to do sport. Like, they stay well away from it. They're terrified of having to defend it on the news. But it's a quite easy position to defend. You should be able to say the elite level sporting organisations should be able to make their own rules based on the science. The government shouldn't rule on that. When it comes to wider policy, such as schools and like after school clubs and stuff, then trans people should be able to participate in them. They're clearly not a danger. It's clearly not an actual problem. There's not like whole teams made up of trans girls or anything. And even if there was like a team where all the trans girls in the entire country came to all play together, I mean, so what? like 99.9% of all sports is just done recreationally or at school or, you know, in clubs to fun. It's like a hobby for most people. That's not a problem. I mean, oh no, there's a whole team of trans girls and they traveled across the entire country just to play on some football team, and then they won 1-0 against a team of cis women. Like, we need to eradicate trans people right now. Like, so what? It just does not matter. And I think that's quite an easy position to argue for. So that's what they should be doing. But anyway, this Tommy Tuberville guy, he did actually say in that clip that he's gonna do more, and as soon as Trump goes, this executive order's going, which I'm glad that he's feeling pessimistic, because that's good for us. But he's obviously gonna keep going, and he says, "This is far from over. I'll never stop fighting to protect women and girls." And you know, when a right-wing man says that, the first thing you should do is look up their history on protecting women and girls. And what's that? Tommy Tuberville. Oh no, okay. And what's that? If you go on his page, on his thing, one of his top issues is being anti-abortion, because obviously he doesn't give a fuck about women and girls. He wants to control them. And if you go on this, and you can see he's just recently been defending Pete Hegseth. Sorry, I don't watch any American news. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce this. Who has been accused of sexual assault. And he doesn't seem to care about that at all, because why would he? Actually, on his anti-abortion position, he cared so much about abortion that he was willing to blockade 400 military promotions. Like, he basically found a way of causing a scene and said, I'm not going to do my duty until the country takes issue and starts banning abortion. And he ended up being the last holdout and had to cave because other Republicans were pressuring him to give in. It says here, more than 400 military nominations have been in limbo due to his blanket hold on confirmations and promotions for senior military officers. It's a stance that has left key national security positions unfilled and military families without an uncertain path forwards. And this was based on how much he hates women and girls having control of their own bodies. So it's not just like he's a mild, he doesn't really like abortion. This guy's a fucking dedicated anti-women's rights activist. Okay? That's one of his core beliefs. On his page is one of his top things. It's like one of his top 10 issues. He's willing to sacrifice his reputation amongst other Republicans to hurt women and girls. And here he is claiming that what he's actually doing is protecting them, because that's what all these fucking losers say, and it is never true. And The Guardian obviously is going to go out of its way to avoid pointing out that the anti-trans movement and the anti-women's rights movement are like the same thing. But I think that all reporters should be doing this. Whenever they say, obviously quote these guys, you should let them have their say. When it says, Tuberville, a former college football coach and dedicated anti-women's rights activist, remained to fight after the defeat, posting on social media. Like, that should be that's a basic journalism, right? Anyway, it is good that they banned the bill, and we've just got to hope that the Democrats are ready to stand up for trans people further. And we're also got to hope that there are more elections in the future so that Tommy Tuberville's negative opinion that in 4 years when Donald Trump's executive order gets overruled, that will be it. We'll see.